Hey, Black Widow, weaving wisdom in your web. Share with me the secrets that my ancestors left. Whisper words of truth that'll ground me to the core. Set my heart on fire, I'll be idle no more. Black Widow, Black Widow, Black Widow. Hey, Black Widow, weaving wisdom in your web. Share with me the secrets that my ancestors left. Whisper words of truth that'll ground me to the core. Set my heart on fire, I'll be idle no more. Black Widow, Black Widow, Black Widow. Hey, Black Widow, weaving wisdom in your web. Share with me the secrets that my ancestors left. Whisper words of truth that'll ground me to the core. Set my heart on fire, I'll be idle no more. Black Widow, Black Widow, Black Widow.
Micronesia half a day away, Pugot-pugot kasakasay. T-R-A-O-L-D-N-A-L-O-L-E
Following the scientific method and the science of high technology, Western medicine has been able to solve the mysteries of diseases thought to be incurable. Yet other cultures still seek medical care from traditional healers whose knowledge of plants and herbs or acupuncture has been passed along for generations. Bringing together elements of both approaches to healing creates a new kind of medicine, merging the holistic and the specialty, the spiritual and the scientific. Dr. Emmett Aluli, a graduate of the University of Hawaii and the John Burns School of Medicine, is a young Hawaiian doctor who has strong feelings about Hawaii's future. In his practice on the island of Molokai, he works closely with patients who use herbs to treat themselves and their families.
Having had a hard time like the rest of the part Hawaiian medical students, I guess I shared a common ambition just to be able to bridge a trans or cross-cultural gap between Haole medicine or Western medicine and the kind of medicine that you dreamt as practicing in rural communities and with other Hawaiians. It was seeing things Hawaiian in a sense that helped encourage Hawaiianness in individuals that brought me back here. It was like knowing that Molokai was very adamantly, strongly Hawaiian. That brought me to wish for the experience to interrelate with Hawaiians who felt good about themselves personally. The kinds of things we learned in medical school or in the sciences is that you have to have your statistics all down. You have to have a double-blind studies to make such conclusions. But I definitely see Molokai people as being more healthy, maybe because they're outdoors more, or maybe because they depend on part-time subsistence from the ocean and mountains and their gardens. Maybe because there's not all those influences of a huge city, that I see less Hawaiians here as I would, I think, in Honolulu coming in for whatever ails them. When you treat, for example, a patient, then you end up treating the family, you end up treating that family's extended family, depending on the severity of the illness. That being real ohana-oriented styles. You see a lot of people dependent on the herbs.
You talked about the morning glory plant, I remember. That grows somewhere down the beach, I guess. I'm not sure what the Hawaiian name is. But she talked about that plant and how women used to use it before they hanau, just before something for help
Kind of
pain.
like lubricate. I
sure
definitely
what-
document the kinds of herbs that different people are using. Depends on what the
Ukawai Māpuna, Māpuna kapukaha, Ainu aula ha kapu hanoi. Na kupu o na kupuna e malama kamapuna. Malama kamapuna, malama kamapuna Yola loae, mauliola If we can just all put our hands together and upoho 2 times and go. Hola.
Aloha, aloha, aloha mai. Oh, mahalo, piha kauila, for opening us your beautiful pool and that oli. Mahalo nui velina mai, everyone. Velina, mahalo for putting your info in the chat. So ovayao, o Kealiʻimakamanaʻonalani Shannon Parker Poʻoloa. O hilo hanakahi wa kea hilo Hawaiʻi maiau. O ka mauna wa kea kuʻuwahi mauna a o mauna lua kuʻuwahi kai. I live in Hilo, but I am from my one hanau. The sands of my birth are from Kuleana Valley on Oahu, where Mauna Loa Bay is situated, where once had the largest local i'a or fish pond in Hawaii, right there. I know it as Kuapa, but I believe there's a more formal name for that. But aloha, and this is where I come from and what fills my cup, where I call home, where I call my kupuna from. And I also have kupuna here from Kohala that later on became known as Parker Ranch as my ohana as well. So aloha, who do we have? I'm so happy to see these familiar names. So happy to see you guys coming back. We let's see, aloha Debbie, Nakasato, so good to see you again.
Aloha.
Aloha, and Kelly Reyes, oh my ka'i, welcome back everybody. Patricia McCartney, maloha. Mary Jane Taylor, you are from Pahoa, aloha, oh yeah. Hawaii Island Community Health Center,
Aloha,
so aloha. Velina Mai, aloha Cher, Nick B, all from Maui. So excited to have you here again. And thank you for bringing the names of where you guys are from, because, you know, Kahalui, Makiki, you know, Sammy is from living in Makiki, but from Saipan. Patty McCartney is calling a Moloka'i. Oh yes, Moloka'i Nuia Hina. Mary G at Pahoa, and yeah. Aloha Carolann is from Pohnpei, and just really appreciate these names that we bring, and also and then our awesome PI who brings all her kupuna from the vast across all of our honua. So mahalo. Mahalo nui. So welcome. Let's move to the next slide. So as you guys saw our opening protocol, like we always take a minute to just explain that in a proper cultural training, we open this way, where else in a Western frame, you may have like everybody gather and then somebody might do the cultural bit and then they'll move on with continuing on maybe in a more Western mindset, where this whole space to create cultural safety, we need to bring it to
we need to begin and end in the ways of our kupuna and bring in the names of our aina and our vai, because they also have a place here in this virtual circle. I'm calling this a circle. Okay, we're coming together like an aloha circle. If we were in person, that's what I would love us to be doing, side by side, holding hands and calling our names, bringing these names of who we are and where we come from. As you saw in our first Oli, in our first kalamai, our first song that we had, Black Widow by Ku'ule, and then we had a fun song from a Micronesian artist. And then you saw the video of Dr. Emmett Aluli, who has recently passed on to the realm of Po. He has gone back to his kupuna. And what a great loss for our lahui. He is an incredible man, incredible. And he was also very instrumental in the beginning efforts to protect Kaho'olawe. So he was a big part of the occupation and our advocacy to get the Navy to stop bombing Kaho'olawe. So I really look to him to draw strength for that, for our current issues with the Navy that Oahu is facing, and also just in his ike, that this man came as a kauka, but brought with him the knowledge of his kupuna and was able to be that type of kauka, that type of doctor that had that know-how. And he was one of the first to graduate as a Hawaiian from what would later on become JOBSOM, or the John B. Hopkins School of Medicine. So that's also really exciting. So mahalo nui for just letting you know and share kind of the intentions we set with our music, the intentions we set with the video. We want to just weave that into our training today. So next slide is going to tell you a little bit the introduction. Next slide. That we are now in work group 7. This is screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment, otherwise known as SBIRT. Yeah. So this last training of the year, we have one more work group in January. But who this is for? Who are we here for? Yeah, no ka ohana aloha, for our beloved families, because we know the issues we have been talking on the last 6 work groups affect everybody in our virtual room right now today, in our ohana, in our lives, in our communities, environments, and neighborhoods. So, hey, papahana keia e ho'ohanohano e nakanako ke au oiwi. E paipai I ko kako mauliola. These training series is to honor the Aboriginal, to engage, encourage, and to feed the roots of our cultural identities. Next slide. So although this is a Native Hawaiian training, no ka pahu moana liha, for those that the trainings are for, who we are here for, this training is meant to provide the Hawaii Opioid Initiative, work group 7 on SBIRT, with an opportunity to engage community members in cultural learning from a Native Hawaiian standpoint in the Kanilehua Framework. It is also an opportunity for other members, for you guys to also learn more and join if you're interested, and also look at like communities that you work in and how you can maybe tailor Kanilehua. This is a framework, it's a training, a gift to you to use it. Next slide. And our learning objectives. So we offer CEUs. So if you are here, this is what our learning objectives are for you to receive your 2 CEUs. So we have, you will engage in an immersive learning experience that will equip you with cultural knowledge to develop strategies for the inclusion of Native Hawaiian cultural intervention treatment programs, wellness plans, and holistic living systems of care. For this work group 7, we are going to identify strategies for a culturally anchored SBIRT. And we hope you utilize and understand, if you don't ask questions, how to utilize Kanilehua in SBIRT. And our agenda. So here's what we have planned for you the next 2 hours. We had our opening protocol, our introduction. We'll move again to revisit Me Ka Iʻa and Kanilehua Framework, and then on to cultural perspectives on SBIRT. We'll take a break, and then knowing our resources, growing our resources, applying our Kanilehua Framework. So we have a fun surprise for you with that, and closing protocol. So we're excited excited for the ending part of this 2 hours. But as always, for this to be genuinely culturally safe, we also must live in a culture of asking permission. That was how I was taught this, that we always ask permission. Is this okay? This is what I'm doing. Is this okay? Consent to deepen. So we're gonna go to places that might be uncomfortable. Yeah, we might discuss things that if you're not comfortable, we invite you, encourage that if you want to, if you'd like to disengage now, that's no problem. We'll have these trainings up, recorded, so you can view them later. If there are any triggers of any sort, you know, this is the consent now moving forward. And also if you choose, we can give you a moment to log off if you need to. But looking at consent, you know, it's really like e na kupu kupu o na kupuna, e ma lama ka Māpuna. So na kupu kupu is the fern. It's an indigenous fern, but it is also representative of our kupuna. Of ferns are one of the most beautiful fauna, but it's been around and hasn't really changed much since thousands and thousands of years. They don't actually hybrid or change. And so what you see is kind of what's always been there. So they're indicative of our kupuna. And to malama ka Māpuna. So we're taking care of the Māpuna. What does that mean? What is a Māpuna? It's a spring. It's a spring that is representative of knowledge bubbling forth, continuous in our water cycle of health and renewal and whole true wellness. So it is through our ancestral memories we acknowledge these systems of support that surround us, and it bears witness to our resiliency while we participate in this process of truth-telling, healing, and emotional intelligence. So I'm going to give about like a few minutes to just have a sit with this, and if you need to log off, mai hopo hopo, mahalo. I don't know if you can hear my poor baby crying, my childcare provider. She wants mommy. Okay, all right, my Ka Iʻa. So excited you guys chose to stay on. You know, we're in this together. There definitely is not an us versus them. It's a ka ko'o effort, is what I say. So revisiting Me Ka Iʻa, where we're at and what do we know? So Me Ka Iʻa comes from the olelo no'ea I komo I ka ai ka pa'akai. It's the salt that makes the poi go in. So poi, what this means is poi tastes so much better with salted meats. But if there's no meat, one can make a meal of just poi and salt. So we're revisiting this concept that it is really taking what knowledge we have and applying it. This is what we got, and we're gonna make it work. You know, and we mahalo for that. We mahalo the pa'akai. So it's taking our framework and applying it. So that's our Me Ka Iʻa, and then revisiting our Kanilehua Framework. So just briefly going to kind of go through the Kanilehua again. Kanilehua as a framework, for those that may be just joining us for the first time today. So Kanilehua is the name of a particular rain in Hilo. This rain, as said in the Hanau Ka'ua, beautiful book about the different rain names, but this one kind of comes in, it talks about the chattering of birds that come after the rain, because they're just the surrounding forest and the rain that comes through and that blessing that it is, that it kind of sounds like chattering birds as it comes through. But this rain represents, as all rain, where you're from, the physical, spiritual, emotional, and socioeconomic resources that allow for health and healing. So that's it. When we think of Kanilehua and rain, this is the vai, right? Vai meaning water, and vai meaning true wealth, true wholeness, because you have so much vai that you're overcome with true wellness. That's wealthy. That's what it means to be truly wealthy. And so in our framework, this rain now comes falls to the ground, and over time it seeps into our pahumoana liha, right, toward our underground aquifer. And looking at the ohia lehua as us, as representative of us, as part of who we are, endemic, indigenous to this land, the ohia lehua has a taproot called the mole, that it breaks through lava, breaks through the pele to source the water below. Okay, and when the ohia is injured or cannot access the water, there is no water for that taproot, that mole, to find, then it grows these ma'aleva, these red aerial roots that you can sometimes be found hanging from the tree. And it does this so that it can draw water from its surrounding pahuma'ukele. So it looks to the moisture of the surrounding forest, that the chattering of the birds that comes through, it's going to reach out and gather moisture from that. And in doing that, the lehua is recovered in wholeness and wellness. The ohia lehua can thrive, can continue to thrive because of this ability. So this is our framework, kind of just going over the gist, kind of like how we've what we've been talking about the last 6 work groups, and just a refresher. So next screen. And I am going to invite our awesome PI, Catherine Burke, to talk about the Senate concurrent resolution that informs the work we're doing today. Aloha, Kat.
Aloha, mahalo kia. Each time we want to revisit Senate Concurrent Resolution 103, as this series is meant to enforce this resolution from 2019, and we choose a selection to focus our topic discussion. So this portion talks about risk factors. So SBIRT, screening, brief intervention and referral to treatment, is associated with those risk factors. So poverty, personal trauma, cultural trauma are associated with substance misuse. So we'll be talking about that. And then in public health, whenever we measure something, we want to make sure that we have the capacity to address it. And so in the resolution, it talks about the Hawaii Opioid Initiative not having cultural treatment programs and traditional holistic living systems to offer, as they are essential to preventing the spread of opioid crisis and just opioid and substance misuse in general. So we'll be sharing a strategy for how that could be addressed. Mahalo, Kia.
Mahalo, Kat. So thankful for having that language and this ability to do this training, because we're, who is this for? What are we doing this for, right? So coming to cultural perspectives, if you were with us last week in work group 6, I went back, I called it flipping the script. We went all the way back to the beginning of POL. So we'll go to the next slide. And it is here in the wāhine hāpai that I feel the revolution begins. And looking at SBIRT talks about when particularly women are on substance misuse, that one of the best opportunities for intervention is when they get hāpai, because the motivation for change is a lot higher. And what does this mean as a kanaka maoli, as a kanaka oiwi wāhine, a wāhine who's bringing all of her kupuna forward when she is pregnant? So we know that a lot of times for women, studies have shown that when they are in substance misuse, it is because they come from a lot of ACEs, like we talked about last week, and other indicators of trauma, abuse, and neglect, and domestic abuse, and living in households where there was violence towards the mother. And all of these we see in women more often that they have a way to go into substance misuse. So when we're looking at barriers to treatment, you know, it is pregnancy is a great time for us to address some of these roadblocks and barriers. And it is because when because of the desire to protect and care their fetus, pregnant women are going to seek prenatal care and have a lot more frequent encounters with healthcare professionals. So this is going to allow for a more frequent assessment and screening for substance misuse and the related conditions, right? This distinct period of time allows for further access to extended medical care. This is the time that we can get them. We're going to see them more often. They're motivated. But the roadblocks, the barriers to treatment is that sometimes they're unwilling or unable to stop using substances. So that's a roadblock, that's a barrier, right? They're not, and they also need, like majority of them need some form of intervention. And this is where SBIRT in our Kanilehua Framework can really come in handy, because this, in order to fully stop substance use, right? We have to address these issues. And so some of the interventions, right, as we know with SBIRT. So SBIRT, I'm gonna, for those, this is a training. So SBIRT, I'm gonna, like, I was like, what is SBIRT, right? Like, what is it? So it is screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment. That is what the SBIRT in SBIRT stands for. Part of using SBIRT includes using motivational interviewing, interventions that are brief interventions, but powerful, but, you know, just whatever you can get, right? Using cognitive behavioral therapy, health education, social support, and sometimes intense behavioral treatments, right? Because it's, all of this is going to allow more access and more intervention for wāhine hāpai that are using substances that are hāpai. So where can Kanilehua come in? Where can the cultural intervention come in, right? Is really acknowledging from a cultural standpoint the historical and cultural trauma. And so using culture as the foundation for change through kuleana. And as we know as Hawaiians, when you mention the word kuleana, there's just this, your spine gets a little straighter. You're like, oh, yes, yes. When it comes to one very corner point aspect of most indigenous cultures, and that is respect for your kupuna. And there's no negotiating that, as you know. When you come to a party, you're going to greet your kupuna first. Your kupuna are revered. This is who we turn to for knowledge. This is who we turn to malama, and who malama's us growing up. So when we talk about kuleana, that's a very, in a cultural perspective, is highly motivating, because this is a time that you can make that change. But if they were to know really, what is that kuleana? What does that kuleana really entail? Okay, so looking at birth from a cultural perspective, looking at birth as who we are in the cosmology of us as indigenous peoples, we go to our eggs. So within each of us is haumea. Haumea, I hold all of my future generations. And when I am pregnant, I hold my grandchildren. I hold my great-grandchildren. I hold the descendants that are going to come from me. And when I look back, as my art here indicates, like literally going into delta, going into that brain wave, when you are giving birth and you are open, you are calling your kupuna forth to bring that pay from through the veil. I call this little piece here just guiding through the veil. And that's the veil from po to ao, and what that means to have all of your kupuna guiding forth your first child, who is the representative of the rest of your lineage for the next 7 generations. That's a term that's used by White Bison in their training module, and it really speaks to what your actions now, how they will impact your next 7 generations. So if you have understanding that kuleana and knowing that it isn't a heavy burdensome, it can feel very, very heavy. And we coming in with the cultural aspect can help with that burden. but to understand that this is the kuleana we speak to, and that pregnancy coming in can be that catalyst. When I worked at Kokua Kalihi Valley in the Kalahui Okapo, so the Birthing a Nation program, we had birthing classes, and in our classes we would get couples, 25 was kind of hard, like max, because that's a lot. We used to hold them in person until COVID, of course. But I met so many beautiful, wonderful people through our classes, but we come across couples experiencing all sorts of these issues. And we're not an intervention treatment program, so we never intervened in that way. We just taught our class. We just taught our Ike Kupuna through the indigenous birthing practices that we would like them to engage in, that they wanted to engage in, to bring their child forward in that really, intentional way, from eating aipono, because you know that when you eat the food of your aina, when you eat the food where you live, like food grown in a garden, in the dirt and the soil, from the air you breathe, and the wind that blows through, the microbiome just alone in that feeds your child, not just its nutrients, but its connectivity to the place that it'll be born into. It's already gonna develop that ono. It's already going to develop that desire to eat of the place where it comes from. And the connection is incredibly powerful. And in birthing, eating aipono not just creates the ono, it creates the dental care, it creates the mental capacities, the cellular capacities to be very, very pono, very rich. You did a study, I think it was Dr. Weston Price had done a study back in the 20s. He was a dentist, and he couldn't understand why all the children he was seeing in the 1920s, and I believe in Chicago or Cincinnati, that why all the children he was seeing had crooked teeth. He's like, this can't biologically be what all children growing need to have their teeth corrected. And so in his studies, he learned that it was all derived from nutrition that the mother ate. He furthered his studies and this knowledge by traveling all over the world and studying indigenous cultures, and saw what they ate and saw how they were born, from people from the Maoris in New Zealand, Samoa to Alaska, who ate whale fat and other things, but whale fat being a big part of their diet. In Africa, there was a culture that ate ants and other food to it. There was a culture also in Switzerland, that was very hard to get to. So they were pretty much very rural. They were hard to get to, a little isolated is the word I'm using. So they didn't have access to too much outside influence. And in this culture, you ate a lot of what provided their food was, I believe, sheep and a certain green. And every single one of these cultures, regardless of what they actually ate, all of their children were born with a beautiful, wide, straight teeth with a wide jaw base, so that your jaw was wide enough for your teeth. And that they saw the more you ate Western food, processed foods high in saturated fats and unhealthy carbs, that the jaw would thin, crowding the teeth more. So knowing this knowledge and knowing how important nutrition is, this was a huge component of our birthing classes, but so was ho'oponopono, which meant clearing the space. That pay can't arrive unless the space is cleared. You need to make right what needs to be made right with auntie, sister, mom, stepmom, mother-in-law, all of the relationships. When baby is to come forward, the path must be clear, so there's no complications to the pay or to the mom. And then we'd move on into la'au lapa'au, using the traditional herbs that Dr. Emmett Aluli spoke about, and incorporating that into their diet, and incorporating that into what they take to ensure their baby is born as pono as can. And then also lomi techniques for prenatal and also during birthing. Lomi is very crucial during birthing, and all the way to kane kuleana, which we talked about last week, and what is the role of the kane to, you know, and then hanai vayu, so then breastfeeding, and how important breastfeeding is. So all of these things, it's that ripple effect, as seen here in this like drawing of like the birth plan. So go to the next slide. And so I shared this again. So in our birth plan that we would teach our couples, right? It starts with pe and mama, because that's the focus. That's mom's her only kuleana during birth is to open. And that's incredibly difficult in a Western setting in a hospital. There's so much, these little interventions, bing, 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 lights, gotta check this, gotta check that. It's very hard for mom to open. Mom needs quiet, she needs strength, foundation, and total trust. Papa, daddy, AKA daddy, comes in, husband, and his kuleana is to pale the mom, for her to birth, and pale the keiki that is coming. Surrounding this again is you have your midwife, you have the OBGYN, you have the nurses. As we know, the nurses are that barrier or that intervention between you and the kauka, between you and the doctor, the OB. So the nurses play a very crucial role, and midwife and doula if you wanted a home birth, right? And then you have accompanying that circle is that of our ohana and those that are saying pule for us in our birth setting. It's for Tutu to be cooking up the chicken papaya soup or the limu soup or the chicken feet soup, whatever your culture is that you eat after birth that is full of those nutrients that the mom will really need. Surrounding them even more is our aina. Is our mauna, it's our vai, it's the piko. We're gonna put baby's piko, where we're gonna kanu that baby's ieve or placenta and plant a tree to heal the earth more and to further establish that connection between child and aina. And in company that is our spiritual, always in this around us is you have our keakua, na akua, whoever you pule to, whoever fills your spiritual cup. That's Jesus, God, Haumea, Papa Hanau Moku, or Almakua too, our family deities, our kupuna, those are our ancestors, calling forth your grandmother, or if your mother, if you've passed, if she's passed, and all of that kind of is who we talk about. So this again is also that the next 7 generations, because this is who you're answering to. This is who you have in front of you when you are going through this. So does this resonate? You guys are you still with me? I won't lose anyone. But so carrying on the line of Haumea is how we're gonna look at breaking cycles of pattern and abuse, patterns that don't serve us, right? And we're gonna hopefully replace this broken system with cultural foundation. So, and it's also incredibly important. Another thing that we definitely talk about in our birth class is stress level, chronic stress, chronic fatigue, chronic illnesses, and how much that plays on the shapes the baby's perspectives on life. Okay, so if you have a very stressed out mom, your baby's gonna grow up with already biological, neurological, or not, I don't want to say this language, right? Not disorders, but just it will affect the way they perceive life in the world, and it can have a very detrimental effect. Stress can cause a lot of damage to a fetus. And of course, also furthering using the substance abuse, the effect that has on your fetus, has on the fetus's eggs or sperm within that fetus. So, you know, this is where the Me Ka Iʻa comes in. This is where you're gonna take what we know about this, and this is how we're gonna apply the Kanilehua Framework with this as our guiding foundation of the next 7 generations. So next slide. I think we're here now where we're gonna break a little bit because we have a very active second session for you. So I know it's a little early to break, but we that was a lot. And we just want you guys to kind of like check in and see how you guys are doing. If anyone, what do we have in our chat? Oh, mahalo, yes, can resonate. Mahalo, yeah. Oh, aloha, Jenna. Thank you. So yeah, this is just speaking from a cultural perspective, when in substance misuse, that if you have a wāhine hāpai, one thing I didn't touch upon, excuse me, before we break, there was one important, really important aspect that I just remembered, and that is implicit bias, and kind of how I know from working with in Indigenous birthing, sometimes that the Western response to women using substances is to get CWS involved. And we have seen that where women, so this is definitely a barrier to treatment, huge barrier, is the fear that if they're honest about their substance use to their providers, their children are going to be taken away. So the honesty in the screening process, we're going to get into that big time, because we know that if there's, I saw it personally with a couple, an Indigenous couple who wanted to have a home birth. So, but partaked in marijuana recreationally, the father mostly, and the mom too. And so they wanted a home birth. Their midwife does talk to them about using marijuana while pregnant. They're educated on the risk of using marijuana while pregnant, and also having the father on marijuana, what that means to the health of the household and their home environment. They proceed with the home birth, but the birth itself, as birth goes, because you don't ever know how birth will go, that they had to get transferred then to a hospital. And they were not well received, because hospitals there's and I can speak to this on experience, do not like home birth transfers. They are so already kind of like their back is up, and there was some conflict because the couples are already like, we don't want to be in the hospital. I don't trust the Western hospitals. You know, there's fear all around, fear from the nurses and fear from the people coming in to birth in a hospital setting. And then CWS was called on this couple and their older children, and the baby were taken away. And it took months because of their marijuana use. And so it was a very scary and detrimental story that circulated. And so it brought up fear, like, if I'm honest, then this could happen, or if it's, notified. And so it got to where people were lying when they were transferred from home births, like, oh, I just started labor and was laboring at home, but I always meant to come in. And not having the honesty because of these built-in implicit bias and explicit bias and general culture of hospitals. So that was one aspect I did want to touch upon. But now we have break, and where are we at timeline wise? We're about 12:50. Okay, so that is good. That's good. Okay, so we're going to put up our awesome word search break. And I think, Sammy, were you gonna share about annotating?
Sure, yeah. So we don't have our Jack today, who is the one who usually tells us how to annotate. He has his final exam. So if you've done this before, but if this is your first time, I think only if you're using a desktop, you go to the top where you can see the green bar saying viewing Carolann's screen, and then click on view options. And then there is a button that says annotate. You can turn that on and then use that to find the words that we have in our word search. All right. You can use the draw button, change the color, and then you can see, yeah, there, I made a thingy. All right, so have fun. We're gonna play our song, and if there's any questions or comments, please put them in the chat.
Hey Siri, play that new Pacific Cool song. Hey Siri, play that new Pacific Cool song. sudah. Ta 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 ta. Mot mot tau tau kidan solo. Isna matsut sudah. Shades in our Scots because Tiger Beach is the spot. The water's so clear and the sun's just right. A lot of people there, it's a beautiful sight. Come on over, get the sun in your face because Tiger Beach is the place. So come on everybody, come on down to the most beautiful spot in town. We'll dive off the rock, yeah, enjoy your splash. It's the place to have a blast. So come on everybody, come on down to the most beautiful spot in town. We'll dive off the rock, yeah, enjoy your splash. It's the place to have a blast. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Oh wow. Cool, you guys. Did they get it all? I think
We got it all.
I think so. Velina Mai, welcome back from our break. Mahalo for that uplifting song. And I'm glad, I guess it was just us hosts that could see the horrible transcripts of the song. Okay. And we're going to, is that Auntie Kathy? Is your hand raised?
I
Hi.
wanted to just share some mana'o in regards to hāpai, wāhine hāpai. In our screening forms, we usually ask the person if they're smoking, and that translates to most people as smoking tobacco. So I'm just asking if people can be more mindful in their screening or as they're meeting the person to find out if the person is vaping, especially for wāhine hāpai, because and I don't want to go deep into this, but the main part that it affects the mom's lungs, and in the developmental stages of the keiki or the unborn child, there can be further complications because of what vaping does to our bodies. So I'm not putting do, don't do, but just a deeper in depth. And some people may not have come across this, but sometimes the Connie or the birth father may actually be bisexual. And that is, I mean, in old Hawaii, that was not a problem. And in some cultures today, that still goes on, but it's not talked about. So not to just assume, or like in the case where these people were smoking recreational marijuana, that other things might be going on, but just to understand that that it can or can also be an older practice that occurred and still occurs today. And depending upon the partner's history, their origins, their access stuff. It's important to have a holistic approach and understanding. So I just wanted to share that mana'o because it's not necessarily identified in our current system.
No, it's not. And mahalo nui, Auntie Kathy, for bringing that to our attention, because there's also misinformation out there that people think vaping isn't as bad as smoking cigarettes.
Exactly.
They think that, oh, if I just do this instead of cigarettes, it's not as bad. We could use more knowledge on that, I think, especially in birthing and what that does to the development of the fetus's lungs. And
I mean, later on we can talk story, but just a user-friendly way is to ask, are you smoking tobacco and or are you vaping? So it doesn't become singling the individual out or putting any kind of negativity, on the question. But for our purposes and to do best for mama and baby and the ohana, we need to know those kinds of things. And so I think at some other point, later on we can get into screening, but I just wanted to share that so it doesn't go unheard. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo nui. No, I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Auntie Kathy, for bringing that to our attention. And then just a highlight when you guys are doing the screening process. But we are going to continue with our cultural perspectives now, and I'd like to invite Carolann to share. Aloha, Carolann.
Aloha and kasalelia, everyone. Thank you, Keia, for such a great opening and a great beginning to our webinar. My name is Carolann, and home for me is the beautiful island of Pohnpei in the Federated States of Micronesia. I'm a research associate with the Māpuna Lab, and today I thought I'd talk a little bit about my cultural perspectives. When we were talking about SBIRT, the first things that came to mind for me was my experience with primary healthcare back home. Where I come from, it's a given that families have their Western doctors and their traditional healers to help with their care. As seen even in our primary healthcare manual, this photo of the front cover that I have here on this slide, all of these contributors are both Western trained doctors, public health professionals, and traditional healers. And when we were talking about SBIRT, screening, brief intervention, and referral to treatment, I couldn't help but think about all of the traditional healers that helped me in my healing journey with my pain growing up back home, and how we were only able to get to healing through story sharing and storytelling, sharing that time with me as someone who they were caring for, and with my family, who was my support system and was constantly in the room with us. At its basis, SBIRT really is storytelling, because what you're doing is you're asking these patients about their history. When I was in high school back home, I had a lot of back pain. And for a long time, my Western trained doctors told me that I had scoliosis. But when you looked at my x-rays, it was really hard to see any type of curvature in my back. And so we looked to a lot of different traditional healers who would lomi or massage my back to help realign all of the pain that was back there. And there was this one healer who finally started to ask the questions about personal trauma, cultural trauma. And it was my grandparents that let them know, oh, she was in a car accident back in the day. And this healer automatically was like, oh, is your uterus okay? Is it in the right place? And at the time, I didn't even know that your uterus could be displaced. And so he felt it, and he found that my uterus had lodged itself against my spine. So for the next 4 sessions, all it was realignment. And when it finally was back in place, I had no more back pain. And I haven't had back pain since, only when my uterus does move. And in thinking about that, and in the context of this webinar, I hope that we all begin to think about the ways that we can mold our SBIRT approaches to better serve the community in talking about their personal trauma, their cultural trauma, that mind, body, spirit connection, and especially having familial support systems in the room to help everybody understand root causes or underlying causes of grief. Thank you, Keia. Oh, sorry. And now I'm going to hand it over to Kat to talk about knowing our resources.
Mahalo, Carolann. I just wanted to highlight some aspects of the previous Hawaii Opioid Initiative evaluations that talk about how the Hawaii Opioid Initiative has been working to implement SBIRT. We can go to the next slide. So in the 2019 evaluation, you can see the progress of Work Group 7 to introduce people to SBIRT, educate the Hawaii Opioid Initiative on what it is and how it's used. And then in 2020, we saw a bridge towards the managed care organizations to see how providers could bill for SBIRT. And then in 2021, just looking at how to make sure that physicians are trained, or not just physicians, but people throughout the healthcare system are trained in order to know how to utilize SBIRT. So we're adding another layer onto this discussion of a cultural application of SBIRT, but just to acknowledge the work that's already been done. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Kat, for that awesome overview. So in growing our resources, as for those of you guys who have been joining us for previous webinars, we've been creating or curating resources online based on the webinar topic. And today we have created a database of curated resources on SBIRT, screening protocols, and other relevant information where applicable. And we correlated these curated resources to the objectives of this webinar, as well as to the Kanilehua Framework as best as we could. Of course, there's not always a perfect match in terms of how to link it perfectly to the Kanilehua Framework. But we could probably go through a quick demo. If I could share my screen really quickly. Thank you so much. Oh, I think I might need to get some hosting privileges. Kalamai. There we go. Mahalo nui. Okay, so here we are. And if you would like to actually go to it while I'm demoing it, you can go to uludrs.com/SBIRT-database/. We can put that in the chat for you as well. And so what we have here is you'll kind of get a refresher on the Kanilehua Framework itself. And then if you go down here, this is the actual database. And you'll be able to search this database in multiple ways, multiple filters. That includes resource type. You can search for a title if you're looking for a keyword. You can search that in this search bar right here. You can also search by a Kanilehua tag. And then you can search by the category tag. And the category tag is just another way of defining the objective of this webinar tag. So screening and early detection. In my search though we need a lot of help in this database, because in my search, curating resources online, it was really hard for me to find resources on SBIRT and maybe culturally relevant approaches to SBIRT. And so if any of you have any kind of resources to share with us, I encourage you to put those in the chat for us. We'll definitely catalog those, take a look and add them to the database. But let's just go ahead and do a quick search. So let's check out website. Let's filter down to Pahuma'ukele, so that support system, right? That we've been talking about so much in our webinars. And let's go to prenatal SBIRT, what we were just talking about. And oh, we don't have a match here. Let's go to SBIRT itself. That's funny, we don't have a match there either. There we go. So if I go down to policy resolution, then you can view the resource here. So that's how you use our database. Once again, feel free to email us at mapuna@hawaii.edu if you have any questions. Mahalo nui. And then that's it for me.
Oh my goodness. Marion, mahalo nui. What a vai resource. In creating this database, it does take a lot of work, but we wanted to, at the end of these webinars, it's our hope that this gets used, gets put into use, and creating a database and utilizing modern technology in ways that Marion's really brilliant at can help us continue to identify who is part of the Pahuma'ukele and continue to grow our Pahuma'ukele. And that's everybody here, right? We are that surrounding forest. And so I know we do this training differently than other trainings where, you know, you have one person speaking and there's a video. We get to sort of see everyone. So I would like to welcome you to perhaps cameras off and show, or cameras on, whichever one shows your beautiful alo, and invite you to just sort of be a part of the group. You don't have to if you don't want to, or uncomfortable, not a problem, but we just love that creating this cultural space also kind of like, who are we looking at? Who are we talking to? And invite you to engage with us as well. So mahalo. And drive safe if you're driving. Derwin, are you driving? Drive safe. I understand if cameras need to be off to drive safe. So we also put in the chat a way to contribute to the database. So there is our intake form there if you want to click on that, and also the click to the actual database from our website at uludrs.com, SBIRT-database. Mahalo, Marion, so much. And so this is it's like a living thing. It's a continuing thing. We're growing this. No worries. Please drive safe. Thank you so much for attending while driving. I do too. I love listening to webinars, podcasts, all the things while driving. So I understand. So don't put your camera on or worry about that if you're driving. But I just wanted to mahalo Marion so much for that awesome work you did. Thank you. And so coming back to our framework. Okay, so now we're going to apply the Kanilehua Framework. We're going to apply the I to the I'a. And it is here that we are, so in our Me Ka Iʻa, where we are at and what we know, right? So there's this olelo no'eau, o ka uhi vai, no ka ike ka ino ka vai. Only the mist knows the storm that causes the stream to swell. So only those close to a person or situation knows the problem. And it is the I that represents all the HOI work groups and the work that has already been done. And we're going to just add it on, like Kat so eloquently said, this is just a component to SBIRT. We want to just add Kanilehua as that cultural intervention using SBIRTs. That's the application of the I'a. So this is it in real time. And what's next? Next slide. I think we are at our, our surprise for you guys. We're going to do a little bit of a role play. So mahalo nui for all of you that are unmuted, on camera, that just helps us also with this process. So yes, and I did want to make mahalo for, yes. So while we're doing the role play, Sammy is managing our poll everywhere. So as we're doing this, and if you're having reactions or things you want to say, add it to the poll in real time. So as we're doing this in real time. Now the role playing is not, you know, what you do in your job may look different. This was just a way we're gonna highlight how using SBIRT and then applying Kanilehua. So I am so blessed. I have my amazing Hoa Kawila is going to work with us. And just so you know, this is role playing. This isn't honestly or truth for the most part. Okay. So we're going to begin with scenario 1, where this is going to be a typical SBIRT minus Kanilehua. Okay, so I am playing the role of a nurse practitioner, and Kawila is who I am going to be working with. So, Makakau?
And then the disclaimer for me going off screen.
Oh yeah, Me Ka Iʻa. You can go over. We're gonna highlight. You know, you don't want to be on the highlight, the spotlight. You want to remove spotlight.
No, Hikino. So just a quick disclaimer, we are doing role playing right now, and we're gonna be playing a character, but like a personality. So in this scenario, I will be portraying Kanaka, who is coming in for an screening or evaluation at the beginning of any doctor visit. And so the character is going to be played the one on screen, and you'll see it in the characterizations between the scenario. The person on screen is what I think the doctor wants to hear. The person off screen, when I do this, is an inner dialogue happening in my head of what I really want to say, but it's not the truth that what I'm saying on screen. So just a quick disclaimer in case you guys are like, what the hell is going on? Okay.
Yeah, no, Me Ka Iʻa. And so we'll do the spotlight because that was Me Ka Iʻa. Okay. Okay.
Let me know when I gotta come in.
Okay, yeah. So, hello.
Hi, aloha. How's it?
Hi. Okay, so Kealiʻimakamanaʻonalani. Your name is just so long, it doesn't fit on this form. So, how do you say your name?
My full first name is Kawila Nui Makehai Kalani. My last name is Kealiʻimakamanaʻonalani, but you can just call me Kawila for now.
Kawila, oh gosh, thank God. That is just so long. Okay. So I'm the nurse. I'm just going to ask you some questions and then the doctor's going to come in and talk to you. Okay, so have you used drugs other than those required for medical reasons?
Just this morning. No, not that I can recollect.
Oh, okay, so no. Do you abuse more than one drug at a time?
At least several. Nothing that I haven't been prescribed.
Prescribed, oh, okay. Are you unable to stop abusing drugs when you want to?
Hell no. I believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good, okay. Have you ever had blackouts or flashbacks as a result of drug use?
Girl, I can barely remember last night. No, not that I can remember. No, I don't think so.
So you have no drug use to feel bad or guilty about?
Every day. No, nothing.
So your family, your partner, do you have a significant other?
Super lonely in the streets. No, I go on dates.
Oh, so they all right, so okay, so okay, the doctor's gonna, so it's here so you have no drug use, so okay, have you ever neglected your family? So you don't use drugs, so I don't think I need to ask you that. You've ever engaged in illegal activities to obtain drugs?
No.
Have you even experienced withdrawal symptoms, felt sick when you stopped taking drugs?
I'm sweating bullets right now. No.
Okay. Have you ever had medical problems as a result of drug use, memory loss, hepatitis, convulsions, or bleeding?
Yes, no, yes, yes. I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay, so we're just gonna do this drug abuse screening test, and from all the no's, it was like you have no problems reported. So I'll just let the doctor know no suggested action at this time. He'll be right in. Thank you.
Mahalo.
So that little role play was to highlight how oftentimes this screening process is not done with the actual doctor. The doctor will come in and follow up, but this initial screening is often done by a nurse practitioner, right? So someone other than the CALCA in the initial screening. So we're gonna move to scenario 2. Okay. All right, so same. Aloha. Aloha, may I come in?
Kalamai. Aloha kaua.
Oh, aloha, pehe oi.
Keola.
Oh, my ka'i. So, o Kealiʻimakamanaʻonalani Poʻoloa. I see here, my apologies, it doesn't have the whole name. O vai koinoa.
Ai aloha Kealiʻi o kauila nui ma ke hea I kalani ka o inua mua a o Kealiʻi kanaka ole o haililani ka o inua hope. But I he ka o inua kapa o kauila.
Oh, my ka'i. Mahalo, Kawila. What a beautiful name. Mahalo. It's wonderful to be here to talk with you. I'm just going to talk story with you. I have to ask you some questions. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Mahalo. Some of these questions are going to be a little difficult to talk about, but we ask that you be honest, and then I'm going to take these answers in these questions and then just talk it over with your kauka, and it'll be just between us that we do this. So full transparency, no one else will see these answers and I'm going to just share with him what you share with me, and he's going to talk to you more about it later. Is that okay?
Mahalo.
Okay. Mahalo nui, mahalo. So, what is just as a Kanaka Maoli, what is wellness to you? What does wellness look like and feel like?
To me, wellness looks like joy. It looks like happiness. It looks like taking a dip in salt water when the day is hard. It looks like laughing with family. Yeah, I think that's what wellness looks like to me.
Oh, my ka'i. I would say ka ko'o. That is as well too. My ka'i, that's good to know you have that vai in your available to you. So I have to ask, have you used drugs other than those required for medical reasons?
In full transparency, I have battled with addiction for a lot of my lifetime. But I think where I am now is a lot better than where I was. So okay. Yes, I've definitely used before.
Oh, do you abuse more than one drug at a time?
I think when I was at the height of my using, yes, I did multiple drugs, at least 3 to 5.
Okay. Mahalo for sharing this with me. I really appreciate it. Appreciate this honesty. Thank you. And so let's talk about what are some of the barriers that are causing you to use substances? You want to share with me just some of the things, some of the hardships you might be having?
I think a lot of or at least the causes of me being at the time when I was using, I think a lot of the causes had been past trauma that I didn't know I still was dealing with. I think a lot of it had to do with childhood trauma, abuse, both sexual and physical. And thanks to therapy, I was able to like work through that at a certain point in my life, but sometimes it doesn't always work. So I had to try and find alternatives.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So substance misuse can sometimes be those alternatives. Yeah. Mahalo for sharing with me. I'm gonna note that, okay, and just let your doctor know about that, what you shared with me. And I really appreciate your honesty. Okay, so Hoa, have you been unable to stop abusing drugs if you want to?
Yes. Up until from then to now, I've been clean for about a little over a year and a half. And I do think about it every day, but I have a really good support system where I don't have to numb those feelings. I can express them freely.
My Ka Iʻa, that's so good to know. And congratulations. That takes a lot. That takes a lot to you should congratulate with how far you've come. Now, do you have blackouts or flashbacks though, a result of having drugs?
I used to a lot, yeah.
Oh, okay, and not so much anymore?
Yeah.
Okay. What are do you, as a Kanaka Maoli, do you have a cultural practice that you can engage in when you're alone to help you through this process?
Yeah, I have, well, one is just kind of reflection, breathing, just to see where I am and why am I immediately wanting to begin self-prescribing. I think another thing, I think a good cultural practice is like your ohana, whether it be your blood relatives or your hanai ohana or like your chosen family. It have become a really big part of that support system, still building on that. And a lot of cultural practices as far as aha and hula and ceremony and ritual.
Yes. Oh, my Ka Iʻa. That's so good to know that you have that ike as your foundation. You draw upon that when you need it the most. That is so awesome. Do you feel you need like that right now? Would it help? Or I know sometimes people feel hila using cultural practices in really desolate times, but do you think that is something that would help you?
I think with the support system I have now, that I can look to people and I can depend on people through the healing process. I have them to support me in those practices. So I'm really grateful.
Oh, yes, me too. Do you feel ever bad or guilty about your drug use?
I used to.
Yeah, used to. So no, not so much.
Not too much now, no.
Okay. And does your spouse or parents ever complain about your involvement with drugs?
When I was using, I tried to keep it as far away from my family as possible, so as I wouldn't hurt them.
Do you think you may have neglected them during that time?
Probably. I definitely isolated myself.
Oh, yes. Did you ever engage in maybe illegal activities to try to obtain drugs?
Probably, yeah, for sure. I mean, drugs are illegal, so just, when you gotta pick up from the plug, that's already an illegal activity.
Right. Yes, that is true in and of itself. And are you experiencing or have experienced withdrawal symptoms?
Yes, when I first went cold turkey from when I was using, like, I don't know, if for example, coke or meth, I would get really aggressive. I would have like panic attacks in the middle of the night, but not so much nowadays.
Right. Oh, well, my Ka Iʻa. And so do you have any medical problems as a result of the drug use?
Yeah, I would say my body is probably I'm a 30-year-old body, but I think because of using a lot of my organs or like my functionings, have probably deteriorated a lot quicker than they're supposed to. So I definitely feel the repercussions of using.
Yeah. I can, yeah, see that. Okay, so like it sounds like you have an awesome core of a Ma'aleva support system that you have, and a broader like Pahum Ma'ukele, our surrounding forest. Do you feel like you have that support system of like us, as you think of us, your Kauka, me, your Ohana, your Hoa as part of that system?
Yes. I
Okay.
do.
Well, we're gonna just quickly, okay, so mahalo nui for doing this questionnaire. I really appreciate you being honest. It is your Kauka and I, we just wanna make sure that you are able to obtain full wellness, to vai to the fullest that you can. So I'm just going to just quickly look at the add up, you know, all the points, and it is kind of suggesting that we do further investigation, maybe even intensive assessments, the words I see here. But what I really am trying to say is we would like to work with you more on your journey for wellness. What do you think?
I think I would like that, but if it's okay with you, I think the system that I have in place now is working and has got me to this space. But if there's something that I don't know how to deal with, or like I feel like really using, I think I would be open to the opportunity to heal to this avenue.
Yeah, okay. Oh, my ka'i. Yeah, it's one avenue, and you know, right now I'm gonna kind of talk it over with your Kauka, kind of some of your answers, and he might also address these with you. So I understand you're not ready for further treatment, and you know, that's my ka'i. We are here for you. So you think you might be willing to see the doctor? I think he's available in about a month. Maybe come back so we could just do a follow-up and continue building our pilina. I'd like to get to know you more.
Yes,
Yeah?
I think I would like to come back, and I think these questions are helpful to hear it back of the progress.
Yeah, because it definitely, we would like to I'd like to see you again, you know, kuka again. So I'm gonna just take these answers, and I'm only gonna discuss it with Dr. Kauka, and he's gonna come in a little bit. How are you feeling? You need water or anything?
I get right here. Mahalo.
Yeah, you're my ka'i. Okay, well, mahalo Kawila. It was such an honor and pleasure to meet you.
Mahalo, Kealiʻi. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna go get your doctor, and we'll follow up in about a month, okay?
You know, mahalo nui loa.
Awesome. Okay, so that was role play 2 scenario, where we have someone who, through the screening process, chose to be honest. And by utilizing some of the methodology of the Kanilehua Framework, we saw that he was able to be honest, or the Kauka has the correct information. We can look at his chart and determine other information, but we always include Kawila as a part of this discussion, that it is a collective. It's not necessarily, you know, him versus us, or I'm the doctor, I'm the authoritative, and you got to do this kind of scenario. So that's what we were hoping to highlight. Okay, and then we have scenario 3. And this is where, again, Kawila is role playing to where we could see SBIRT all the way through, from screening to brief intervention to referral to treatment. Okay. Okay. So this is SBIRT's all the way through. Okay. Aloha, aloha. Pehe oi. Oh, Kalama, you're muted.
Aloha. Could be better. Could be unmuted.
Okay, aloha mai. So, Kealiʻimakamanaʻonalani Poʻoloa. I'm just the nurse practitioner here to ask you some questions. E kalamai, the form, just Western forms, is not long enough for our beautiful inoa. Could you share with me your inoa o vai ko inoa?
Yeah, can. It's Kawila Kealiʻimakamanaʻonalani, but Kawila is good.
Okay, my ka'i. Mahalo kawila. Okay. So thank you for coming in. It looks like you looks like you are in need of some assistance. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you some questions. These questions are, we ask that you share with me as much as you're willing to. I'm going to just talk to your kauka after we get these questions, only with him to determine how we can move forward. Is this okay with you?
Just you and the doctor, yeah.
Oh yeah, yes. Yes.
I think I can.
Yeah, we are your team. We're here for you. We're here for you. So so how is it, like, how is your wellness? You know, like what is wellness to you? What does it look like and feel like?
Probably having a hot meal.
Yeah.
Paying bills, having a job, sleeping under a roof.
I got you. Okay. Yep. My ka'i. So like, are you using drugs other than those required for medical reasons?
If get, yeah, probably.
Are you using more than one drug at a time?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you unable to stop using drugs if you wanted to?
I try, but then something always happens, and then, you know, can't.
Yeah.
I don't know what we do.
All right. Mahalo for that. What are some of the barriers do you think is keeping you from that are causing this usage?
Probably family, myself, stressing about money every day.
Yes, these.
Don't really have anybody to talk to.
Okay. Do you okay. Oh, you know, Kawila, it is part of like my role here is to do screenings and, you know, have you answer these questions as a part of our intake process. But I you know, I just, would you be willing if I were to just do a pule for you to help you know that you are not alone? With that, do you have a pule you want to do?
Like right here, right now.
Yeah, right here, right now.
I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable. Would it be okay if you did one?
Absolutely. You know, this pule that I want to share with you, I would like you to this be your emergency pule. Think of it as that pule you can pull out and use when you feel at your lowest, when you need kokua. And especially in the system we live in, it is not easy as kanaka in Hawaii. I want to say this for you, and I know that this is, you know this, we know it. Housing is difficult. Keeping on top of just able to survive in Hawaii is very hard. So this pule I want to share with you speaks to that, speaks to this huli. Okay, it's a huli that I want to share with you, this mindset that you can huli things by ha'ule. So when things fall, we're gonna go with, it's called ha'ule, and this pule speaks to all the things that falls. Let's have the heavens fall, have the night fall, have the day fall, everything falls so that you may rise up again, so that you may rise up from the lepo popolo that is our backbone of our kupuna to support you. Is this my ka'i? Okay, mahalo. Thank you. And if you cry, my ka'i, I'm here for you. Hold you through this. Okay. Oh. Ha'ule kala, ha'ule kapo, ha'ule kalani, ha'ule kani au po ale kalepo po polo. Ha'ule kala, ha'ule kapo, ha'ule kalani, ha'ule kani au ho ale kalepo po po. Ha ule kala, ha ule kapo, ha ule kalani, ha ule kani aho, ale kale po po po. Lo. So just with me and you, we go upoho. Okay. I hope that you take this oli and you feel that you can get through this time. And we're gonna, I have more questions I know to ask you, but know that we are here for you. Okay. I just want to give you that little arsenal because I want to be a part of a support system for you. Okay, so we are calling down the day and the night and the heavens, so huli everything. But back to how you feel, back to this questionnaire. I know we got to answer because this is going to help us move forward. But you ever had blackouts or flashbacks as a result of drug use?
Yes.
Yeah. Me Ka Iʻa. Not me Ka Iʻa, but you know, this is good for us to know. Do you feel bad or guilty about your drug use? Yeah, me Ka Iʻa. Thank you for answering that. And then how about your ohana and your spouse? You have a loved one, a partner? Okay.
And as for my family, I try to stay away from them because I don't want them to know.
Yeah. We can work on that, okay? We're gonna work on that because ohana is but I understand you. We're gonna be a part of that your ma'aleva for you right now. And you have they ever complained about your involvement with drugs?
They probably knew something was up, but I never stayed around long enough to open up.
Okay, so that's a yes. Okay. Have you engaged in illegal activities to get drugs? Yeah. Do you ever experienced withdrawal symptoms, felt sick when you stopped taking drugs?
Yeah.
Okay. So just part of your medical history, as a result of just substance use, have you had any medical problems with memory loss or hepatitis, convulsions, or bleeding?
I don't know about the hepatitis, but probably the other ones.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So mahalo, Kawila, for answering those and like looking at so what trustworthy people do you have that can help you with this besides me and your kauka? Who else do you have as part of your ma'aleva?
Aside from the people I use with, probably not really anybody.
Yeah. So do you outside of any other systems, any other programs, any case managers, anyone else you've been working with that might support you in overcoming these barriers?
I've been in and out of facilities before, but they never seem to stick.
And would you be open to treatment following our conversation when we talk with your kauka?
I don't know yet.
So what is let me ask you, what do you want to see for yourself? What are some of your like what does Kawila want for Kawila?
I want to smile and laugh again.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see my family.
Yeah.
I don't have to depend on a substance to numb the feeling that I should be feeling because I just don't want to.
Hikino. So I get moving forward, if it's all right with you, I'm gonna bring in Dr. Kauka, and we're gonna just explore some of the options for treatment that maybe you could do now. And I want to incorporate in this journey with you just other ways we can help to build you back up help you to get through this point in your life. Are you open to that?
I think so.
Okay, let's get in your Kauka. Go bring in Dr. Kauka. He gonna talk story with us. Okay, mahalo nui, Kawila, this sharing with me. I really appreciate you sharing. I know these questions are hard to answer, but your honesty is so crucial, because we're gonna bring you back. We're gonna build you up. We're gonna help you through this. Me Ka Iʻa?
Thank you.
Okay. Mahalo nui. So, okay, so that was the end of role play 3. Mahalo Kawila. Oh my gosh, I'm sweating.
Oh yeah.
Woo! So now I know that's not typically what you may really experience, what you may like what you see in your office day in and day out. This was like ideally we would have SBIRT all the way through. There might be other ways to that it could go, or sometimes this conversation goes over several different visits, like we showed in scenario 2, where we got to build that pilina, or going to scenario 3 where someone is in immediate crisis and needs kokua right away, and then being able to transfer them to a case manager or you know, helping them further, right? So mahalo piha Kawila. I know that was a little nerve-wracking, but I'm so thankful for you. Hoa, mahalo nui.
I'm just going to share like real fast. Thank you,
Yes.
Kea, for prompting me through that scenarios. We probably should have started with the third one first, because it just ended on a no. Just full disclosure, especially, I mean, I know we're recording and there's like 30-something people listening. So I know that we said we're playing characters, but I really had to dig deep to a space where, so a lot of what I was saying was actually the truth. And scenario 3 was probably like the most truest. Scenario 2 is what I'm doing now, where I am now in the space. And the first scenario is kind of like, it was supposed to be a comedic relief, but also like the truth in every Kanaka Maoli's space, where we do not feel comfortable enough to share that kind of information. And the fact that like we are so ashamed of those spaces that it really hinders us in our journey for healing. So thanks for bringing me back to that point, but mahalo for listening. I wouldn't say all of it is the truth, but there's a lot of truth that I had to put in there in order to make it like a believable scenario. So thank you guys for listening. I'm gonna log off and go make some tea real fast. Not log off, just turn my camera off. Come on.
Me Ka Iʻa, no. Mahalo Kawila. Yeah, and so oh man, your honesty just gave me chicken skin, and it literally almost that took a lot of courage. That took a lot of courage, and I really, really mahalo you. Oh, thank you for that bravery.
Mahalo ya oe, Kea.
You're not gonna see that in many trainings, guys. I'm just gonna be honest. And so we know that the barriers, a lot of the barriers to the screening process is the way the system is sort of set up, and that it is really hard to be really honest. And when we were kind of talking story in this, it was like, oh, I don't tell the doctor the truth. And I'm like, even when I was pregnant, I was like, do you drink any alcohol? And I'm like, I had a glass of wine last night, but I'm not going to tell you that because you're just going to and I'm like, I already know this. And that is a barrier. And then coming with just full disclosure of the way cultural healing and offering a pule, sometimes in crisis mode, having that emergency pule to call down. We will do ha'ule in closing, but just to talk about ha'ule, as was taught to me by ku'ule, that it is really the calling down. Like, imagine if the day were to just fall, like the night were to fall, and the heavens were to just fall. What you're calling on is the ni'au, which is so if you think of a frond, it's that frond is it's like the backbone of the frond, I guess, like the hard part where the other leaves come from. And so what the ni'au represents is systems, school systems, education systems, right? Work systems, family systems. I gotta buy groceries, pay my bills, car needs oil, all that thing, all of those systems just falls. And Kalepo Poʻolo is saying that, so may the systems fall so that those of the earth, of the Poʻolo can rise up and can rise up. So it's really calling for the systems to fall so that we can rise up, and it's a huli. This is like, you know, it's like a transformative thing as well. So it can be said to just transform ourselves individually, like me, things that aren't working for me anymore, may that fall so my truest self of wellness can rise. And so that Oli speaks to that transformation. Oh, aloha, Auntie Kathy, Kalamai, you have your hand raised.
You know, you guys are a total bomb. It needs to go prime time. I mean, because it's so real and so ono. And like you say, people aren't going to get this outside. But my one mana'o to everyone is that while this is very pono, top of the line, please make sure that if you are doing a cultural practice, that it is something that you have either been taught, have got permission to do, and if you do not have that, then revert back to what is in your culture and maybe the patient's culture, because it's safe. And I'll just give a fast example. Because I'm a practitioner, people outside in substance abuse wanted me to do oki. And that is not something that I do. I mean, well, in this particular case, because it wasn't, first of all, it wasn't pono. They were there for the wrong reasons. And I had to be honest and loving and gentle, because the person is truly there for help, right or wrong. So I redirected them from a Western standpoint. I mean, they weren't a cultural person, but they were going with someone. So there was cross-cultural differences in their situation. So I redirected them. Okay, you've had, well, I don't know what it was, 5-7 years of recovery. What worked for you before? Did you feel comfortable with that? It sounds like you have good experience in that. And so I directed a person to go, if they could, to go back to that source. And if they needed me as a resource, I would be happy to join in, myself or other people, not just me. And so I just want to put that out there, because if people do not know what they're doing in another culture, it can cause harm to other people and themselves.
Absolutely.
And most Native people, and I know your team knows that, but you know, I was young once and I'm still very passionate, but you know, oh, this is so wonderful. You know, I'm joyous. I want to do it. And yes, do it. Please do it. Get the courage to do it. But get your kumus, get your guardians, get your ancestors, because it's there. You all have it in your DNA. And what works for one culture is not going to work for another. So just to be mindful, this is kind of motivational, you know, setting to just let people know you are pono in who you are. What you have and what you carry is extremely important. But just to be mindful that the person in this case, we're sharing the same culture. That may not always occur, but what toolboxes can we open to get the same scenario for that individual? So I'm going to stop here, but mahalo nui.
Oh, mahalo.
You guys are the total bomb.
You are, this is so appreciative. You're like our kupuna ike. This is the ike kupuna. I love coming in, and yes, so this is you definitely bring up a very important point. I'm gonna share the Oli afterwards. If you want to learn more, yeah, someone knows. We you know, just stay tuned. Who knows? We might be able to do more workshops in that area, trainings in that area. So, but she is pono. That was very, very correct. Mahalo.
And if people, I mean, I'm available in what I can do. You know, if they ever want to appear support or whatever, I'm happy to, you know, to do that. I posted my number before. So ask, just ask.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.
Gosh, you guys, I'm really sorry. It's 1:58. Okay, so we're gonna move forward. Let's go next slide. What's the poll? What was some of an? Oh, we'll do that in the end. So we did have this slide that Marion beautifully created. So part of the training, you guys can look at this later, but basically what we did was we just added SBIRT. So SBIRT comes with this proficiency checklist with cultural sensitivity assessment. What the puka I found with this, just one thing was that cultural sensitivity, if you can go, I think the next slide, is its own little box on the end where we want to engage the Kanilehua framework into the whole system of using SBIRTs, from screening to brief intervention to referral to treatment, that it isn't just, okay, and we're going to add cultural sensitivity at the bottom, but that it is embedded in the entire process from beginning to end with the person who's, if it's pono to use that culture. So mahalo for that, Auntie Kathy. That is really, really important. And we do highlight other cultures very much, but being that this is a Native Hawaiian intervention training, so the focus is Native Hawaiian, also to address that a lot of the clientele and majority of the people, as we saw in our previous work groups, we do have the highest percentage of those with substance misuse. So this, we hope that you can see the Kanilehua being used in real time, used in connection to SBIRT. We appreciate SBIRT. We know SBIRT is there to catch those that may not be super high risk or in crisis, but kind of in scenario 2. So that's what we know SBIRT is also there to do as well. So we appreciate it as a tool. We are just infusing the infusion of the Kanilehua into it. So this will be part of the slides. And the next slide is, oh yeah, so how you have the cultural sensitivity thing, and then what is missing, right? And so this was also ways that you guys can look later on at the when we send out the, sorry, I have a siren passing my house right now, but when you look at our slide deck later, you can really look over this and see the questions that are part of each process of the Kanilehua, from the late Kanilehua to the mole, right? And then to the ma'aleva. So that pule, me doing that pule, that emergency pule, was part of the mole. Oh, so yeah, next slide. I believe I had made a slide for this as well. These are the questions, kind of what I asked in connection to SBIRT. It's right here that highlights and is part of each aspect of the framework. And then, so with SBIRT, next slide, I'm looking at really was the mole me ma'aleva, right? So we're looking at those systems of support that, that's what SBIRT is really truly being. It's being that ma'aleva, the coming in of gathering the moisture. It's gonna come in and help with that aspect. And then the mole is that emergency pule, that emergency intervention that sometimes SBIRT is a great tool for using as well. So that's using the Kanilehua framework and highlighting aspects of the framework that really fit SBIRTs, but also giving you the tools to incorporate that into the into SBIRT, using SBIRT. So, and next slide, where are we at after this? Oh, and we can pass this slide, sorry. This was from last time. So going into our closing protocol, did anybody participate in the poll, Sammy, that during the role play that we want to highlight at all, or do we want to just let that be part of the slide deck that you get in the email, because it is 2:02, so kalamai.
I can just share a few things without having to share screen. So some of the responses were inclusive, culturally open to engagement, supportive options, thinking critical about current issues. They were able to connect. It seemed like the person was respected versus a patient just going through a checklist. The person was much more comfortable and trusting to share their experience when that cultural connection was established. And the role play experience, especially the second scenario, made people feel more relaxed and engaged, happy, compassionate, empathetic. And then someone else commented that
that this experience is true in their work as a community health worker. A lot of times the staff forgets to remind themselves that they are dealing with different cultures and have to approach them in that way. So that's something that was true for some of our participants' experiences, and trying and wanting to highlight that cultural experience and connection is important in the work. Thank you, Ke'a.
Mahalo, Sammy. Thank you guys for participating in that. I thought it would just engage you also in a little bit. And then also not so eyes on me and Kawila. Okay. All right. That brings us to 203. Mahalo, Piha, for joining us on work group 7. I think next slide will have some follow-up information. Please do your one-word intention. Yeah, and then our upcoming date. So it's going to be announced, but it'll be in January 2023. And this one is on Native Hawaiian Health Learning Tools Introduction. So that is our upcoming webinar date. We do have one more work group 8, and then tying it all in. And please also look up our websites and engage more with our database that we're creating. We would love to have you guys put your mana'o, and also your own services could be a part of this database. So we're building even further our Pahuma Ukele. And yeah, and so for our Aloha Circle, you know, our Mahalo Circle part of this, our Mahalo Circle carry away is to please share your mana'o oya i'o, your one-word intention, to our poll everywhere. And then it's right there in the chat. Thank you, Sammy. And so, yeah. And then also, this is required for the CEUs. Please click the evaluation aspect here. And evaluation, please, you know, we look forward to your feedback. We really do. It informs our work. It informs how we're doing, what we might be missing. This is a growing and developing relationship, Pilina, with all of you. They're definitely, you know, we're all in this together. We all are doing this work together, and it's a kāko'o thing. I like to say that. It's a kāko'o thing, guys. It's, you know, so we come here in a circle, and together we are, we're stronger, right? And the word pilina. So pilina being that many pili blades of grass makes for a strong foundation and strong roof. If you ever built a hale with pili, which Kat and I have, with the seeds. You guys ever know pili grass have tons of pokey seeds, but okay. And then the last slide, pule. Okay, so here is pule haule. Okay, so the application is called to dismember the violent and non-resonant structures for the uprising of healing and truth. This is a call for radical healing, an acknowledgement of hardship, and a catalyst to activate resilience. So it's a time, the prophecies of this, yes, this only came together as it was a prophecy spoken by a kahuna of Puku'i Heao at the time, Ka'ahumanu. So this is at a time when, during the reign of Ka'ahumanu, well, really Kamehameha II, that a lot of our structures were demolished, our kapu system. So, but this is a tool, a pule for you to do. It's done 3 times, and it calls again. And so the lepo popolo used to be a negative connotation. It actually used to mean like your so lepo being dirty, and like popolo is like it's a la'aulapa'au that produces a delicious berry, but it's a blackberry. So it's out of like popolo, of the like dark skin, dirty skin. And so if you work out in the sun a lot, or you're of the earth, then you were called a lepo popolo, and it wasn't a kind thing to say. We huli that whole concept, and now it is a proud thing to say that you are a lepo popolo, that you are of the earth, and your back is dark from working outside, and your feet are dirty, and that the dirt is not dirty, but full of microbes, and it is good. And so we are rising, we're a huli, switching things out, call it dismember. So, okay, so close out our training with haule. Ha'ule kala, ha'ule kapo, ha'ule kalani, ha'ule kani au po ale kalepo po polo. Ha'ule kala, ha'ule kapo, ha'ule kalani, ha'ule kani aho, ale kalepo po, opolo. Ha'ule kala, ha'ule kapo, ha'ule kalani, ha'ule kani aho, ale kalepo po, opo. And then we upoho 2 times.